The one that
Do you eat
eats
octopus?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, vegan, isn't it? Vegan.
Okay.
Just eat octopus.
You just said yes.
No, I'm joking. I'm a vegan.
It's a vegan.
I thought vegans no meat.
Oh my God.
Vegans no meat.
The octopus is.
It's fish though, no?
Oh my God.
But any
Delicious
animal.
meat.
Any animal.
Any animal.
Any animal.
I thought isn't a pescatarian? No.
That's pescatarian. Pescatarian eats fish. Vegans
Vegan-
eat any meat. No.
Fish is,
Oh my God.
fish isn't meat.
Of course it is.
Is it? It's fish.
Of course it is.
mate.
It was alive and then
We are
it
not
dies.
cutting this. This is not being
keep
cut.
A plant was
Keep
alive
listening.
and then it
Stupidest
dies.
thing he said out of like 10 episodes. It's the stupidest thing he said.
I'm honoured.
Welcome back to the BoredMan Podcast. Here again. James, you're doing the intro. Go
Oh
on.
yeah, no, you just started.
He's
So,
terrible at intros.
Got to be quicker, mate.
No, go on.
Honestly, don't fight over
know,
who's
go
going to
on.
introduce the guys. Honestly.
Well,
today-
podcast that Jay at 45 minutes in said something and everybody goes, oh, he speaks.
I was listening intently. You know.
Go on, then.
Yeah. So yeah, we're welcoming Olivia CHENERY. Is that right? Did I say it right?
You said it.
This is
Oh,
why
there we
this
go.
is why he doesn't do introductions.
CHENERY. Yeah. So it's a hard surname to pronounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got
Welcome to the BoredMan Podcast.
Thank you.
How
Very
you
happy
doing?
to be here. Very well. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Good. Where have you come from today?
I've come from Mayfair because I'm doing a muggle job, which is a non-acting job, and I'm temping at an office. So I've been working all day today, unfortunately.
Muggle? What's that?
Yeah, I call it like a mug. Do you know what a muggle is?
No.
Have you not read Harry Potter?
No.
Oh my! Have you read Harry Potter?
He doesn't read.
No.
Come on. Someone around this table must have read Harry Potter. Have you read Harry Potter?
No, just the first one.
But you know what a muggle, muggle is.
I know.
So a
I've watched the
muggle-
films.
Okay, well, you know what a muggle is then. A muggle is like a non-magical, like, human.
Right.
Right? So a muggle job for an actor is like a non-acting job. Muggle job.
Okay.
Get it? Do you get it? That's not
I don't know what
you
muggle is,
should-
but
that's
now
what
I get
you-
it.
That's what you should do. We're muggling all the time.
I'm muggling all the time.
Jay didn't
He
introduce you.
thought he meant smuggling.
You introduced Olivia's name. You didn't introduce her as what she does. Or you probably doesn't know, do you?
Oh, I do know. Yeah, she's an actress.
Yeah, correct.
All right, so let's stop all this muggling. Let me explain. I'm going to tell you how I met Olivia.
Yep.
So when I say met, that's a very loose term, right?
Yep.
I was in an acting class called Ivana Chubbuck,
Yep.
and I hope this doesn't embarrass you. It probably
No.
won't because you're an actress.
Go on.
And being completely honest here, and I was in an acting class, and
God, I'm worried what's going to come out now.
and you were doing a True Romance scene,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And
Wait, there, a romance scene or a scene from True Romance?
A scene from True
From
Romance.
the film True Romance, okay.
Yeah, and it was with another guy, and basically you did the scene in an American accent.
Yeah.
And am I freaking you out that I remember all this?
No, I'm impressed.
Okay. And you were smoking a cigarette, and you were,
Yeah.
and when you go to acting classes, like obviously to be impressed by someone on the screen is quite an easy feat, right? Because there's all the camera people, there's all the makeup, there's all the sound, there's all this stuff. To be impressed by someone in an acting class in person was what used to get me excited because it very hardly ever happens. So it's very rare I'd go to an acting class. Were you laughing at Matt?
Oh, yeah, Olivia got you excited in an acting
Well,
class.
Honestly,
basically.
it was the best. I'm not just saying this. It was the best performance of an actress or actor I'd seen in an acting class in England.
Oh, wow. That's
Oh,
so
wow.
kind of you.
Yeah, and that's the
Wow,
truth.
that
It really-
is praise indeed.
It really,
Thank you.
it really like impacted me because, and that's.
Did you tell her you've secretly recorded it though on your phone?
No, I didn't know.
That's why he
watch
knows
it
all the
before
details.
bed.
That's why he knows all the
every
details.
night.
You're just
Yeah.
rewatching it, yeah.
Studies it.
That's a hard thing to do
Yeah, of
as a
course.
human. That's your
Yeah.
tool, right? And as an actress, and to do that in front of however many of us there, 12 or 20 people, I was super impressed.
Oh, that's so kind of you. That's so nice to hear.
Oh, good,
Thank you.
good.
And what do you remember of James from the acting class?
I just remember him looking at me at the back taking notes.
Any particular scene or anything like?
And then I think the way that we all contacted, I actually rang Matt. I said, Matt, there's this girl in acting class. She did this True Romance scene. It was so fucking good. And then that was when you two met, I think, for the prize fighter.
Oh, I didn't know that was the
It was
link.
slightly before. I'm sure you
No, I
recommended
rang
it was
you
recommended
and I
for the
said-
seed. No, it was before that.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah,
it was
it was
quite a
before.
film, but I rang
Yeah.
you and I said, look, this girl is so good in the class. You need to speak to her. I sent you her Instagram.
Yeah.
You then followed her on Instagram, and then you contacted her for what a film. I can't remember if it was The Duke or The Seed or something.
I was originally going to get in contact with you for the seed,
Oh, I
which
had
is
no
a film
idea
it did before
about any of
Prize Fight.
this.
Yeah. it's news to you. It's good.
This is
Originally,
very
the
exciting
Seed.
news.
When we were looking for 3 young actresses for the Seed, and the director wanted to go in a very specific way, and I was like, I didn't really agree with it or no. So I was asking people, hey, do you know any actresses who are great that would love to do a film in Malta, blah blah blah, during COVID, all this kind of stuff. So that's when I first heard about you.
Yeah.
Started following you and stuff. And then I don't know how it happened with Prizefire.
Well,
You might
I
remember.
got the audition through the casting director, and that's how I thought that whole link was.
Yeah, it's so weird because casting directors are amazing.
Nancy
but,
Bishop,
Yeah, but we sent the name on to Nancy.
Yeah.
So
Oh, interesting.
going?
Oh, do you know, that's so nice to hear, because like, as an actor, I'm sure you're aware, like your career just goes up and down like an absolute roller coaster. And like, there's been so many times, especially over the last like 3 years because of COVID and everything, when I haven't been working, and you just want to give it up and you want to like sack it all in.
Yeah.
But it's so nice to hear that like you get remembered in like classes like that, and it just makes you feel like, okay, I've got to keep going.
Yeah,
Because,
you
like,
never know when they're going to come back.
Yeah,
it's so
you
weird.
never know, yeah.
Someone could be talking about you or planning something behind the scenes, and you never
and
know.
you just never know.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for me, it's easy with my purview to see from the outside in, to see somebody that's really, really good. Like our friend Lucy, she's very good. And you're like, okay, just carry on, because you're definitely going to get there, because there's not that many people that are that talented.
Yeah.
So it's just keep
Oh,
continue.
I was
so
speaking
nice
to
to hear.
a well-known actor the other day, and he was like, he shocked me a little bit because he was talking about Prizefire, and he was like, mate, just trust me, give it a 5-year plan. And I was like, what do you mean 5 years? He said, trust me, what you do now sometimes won't pay off for 5 years. And he said he did a boxing film before, and he said there was a famous director, Shane Meadows, he said wanted to work with him. He said the project just never happened for 5 years. So he said people are always in your mind, or things might happen, but the other person's trying to do a project, or a casting director wants to get you in for this, but they don't get you in for that, they get you in for another project. And sometimes you never know those things.
Yeah.
It was really interesting listening to that, going, well, you might do something now that impacts your career in 5 years. That's scary a little bit, because you're like, oh.
You don't want to wait. And then I've always had this thing, because like as a woman, you eventually want to have a baby and settle down and have a family. And I've always worried that, well, when I want to do that, when that time comes, like I'm going to have to take a year out, to have the baby, and then to like, look after the baby and stuff. And I've always worried, well, I need to get like to a certain level before that point, because I don't want people to forget about me and forget, and then it'll be so hard to then get back into the industry. So like, that's always been sort of the worry at the back of my mind. And, as I've got older, that's sort of gone a bit, and I think your priorities change. But yeah, I think it's interesting what you said, about sort of being in the back of people's minds all the time, and maybe you don't have to worry so much then about sort of taking a year out or not working for a year, because, it's always bubbling away.
Did you go to like acting school, or did you follow a less traditional route?
Yeah, so went to London School of Musical Theatre back in 2010. Went for a year, and like decided when I'd finished, I didn't really want to do musical theatre. I definitely wasn't the best dancer. I was like all right at singing, but like acting was definitely not my forte. So then I sort of like spent the next year sort of doing little acting courses, screen technique stuff, and then was lucky enough to sort of get a good agent who got me in the room for loads of things, and then sort of my career went from there.
Right.
Basically. So yeah.
And why did you want to get into acting? What was what was the draw?
Well, my mum and dad are theatre producers. So my dad used to write musicals when I was younger. He used to adapt Shakespeare shows into musical theatre shows for like primary school kids. So it's sort of like Disney-fied Shakespeare. So I was like always around acting. I was always around actors, and it was just something that I've like always wanted to do, because I was always around it and always like enjoyed watching people perform. And yeah, it was just quite a natural calling for me.
And Jay was saying you spent your sort of one of the big things you was Top Boy.
Bulletproof.
Oh, you said Top Boy.
Those two things always
Yeah, you said
get
Top Boy.
confused.
Did I say Top Boy?
Yeah.
Top Gun,
It's
no?
basically
Top Gun.
Yeah, Top Gun. I wish. Ashley Waters was in Bulletproof, and he's also in Top Gun.
Top Boy.
Top Boy.
Top Boy.
Oh my god.
You got you saying Top Gun.
Top Boy and Bulletproof, are they both TV series? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley Walters and what's the other guy's name?
So
Nick.
Noel Clark.
Noel Clark.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's had a bit of
Who's had a bit of troubles.
trouble with
What?
Actually,
What?
Who wants to
I
say?
don't know if we can say.
Everyone's gone quiet.
Shit. I'll take
No
a drink.
comment.
No, he got into trouble for, was it sexual harassment or something along those lines?
Yeah, on set.
I think he's trying to clear his name. I think something's coming out where he's trying to clear his name. I don't know. Yeah. I've worked with him once. I didn't have a great experience, but that's just my own thing.
There was not just one female. I think there was a few.
Oh, right. Okay.
I worked with him a long time ago, and he didn't do anything in that sense. He was just quite rude and arrogant. But that's it.
He didn't touch your bum.
He should have touched my bum. I know. Didn't squeeze my bum.
You were a bit chubby at the time.
I wasn't that good looking at the time. So.
I can't believe you're saying you're chubby. You're definitely not chubby.
I never said
he's a fat.
You said it earlier.
Not on camera. I look bigger on camera.
He was in good shape.
I was in good shape for the film. You know when you feel like you've been in a place in your life where you're like, good.
Oh yeah, but
that's gone.
Not realistic though to keep that sort of level of
wish I did.
Trimness, right?
I wish I did. Fitting in those lovely clothes, doing all that stuff. But no, it's very much gone. It's trying to come back in the gym, but it's pretty much gone.
Right.
Yes, go on.
Sorry, just to keep everything in line. Right. So basically, you went to this theatre school for a year.
Yep, I did.
Decided you didn't want to do theatre.
Yes.
And then found a good agent.
Yes.
And then who's the agent?
It was Shane Collins.
Right.
He is actually a musical theatre agent, but he managed to get me in the room for loads of TV stuff. And my first job was Special K. I was Special K girl. Okay. Very proud of that. And
like in the red swimsuit thing.
Yeah, but I wasn't in a swimsuit. I was in a red dress.
Okay.
Yeah, thank God. And then I just built my career from that really. I mean, my memory is so bad. I can't even remember the jobs that I've done. Like I only remember Prizefighter, obviously, because it was the best.
I love that.
That's Prizefighter.
I don't know. It's a film that this guy made about boxing.
It's so true though. Like when you go into auditions, I mean, that's the best way to do when you go into auditions. I think Bryan Cranston said this before. He's like, the best way to do an audition is just go in and just never think about it. Never remember anything. Just go in and do it, and just like forget about it. I think that's quite a nice.
I mean, that is
then
a
you just
skill
don't
in
care.
itself to do that. Like hard. So hard,
especially when someone says, "Oh, you're down to last one or last two." Yeah.
Do you follow that Chubbuck thing? Step 12, forget everything.
Do you know what? So I've actually written to Patrick to join again because I was getting loads of jobs when I was doing Chubbuck, and then I stopped doing it for a couple of years because I was like, well, I'm getting the jobs. and then I'm like, no, I'm not getting the jobs. I'm like, what was I doing when I was getting all the jobs? I was doing Chubbuck. So I'm actually going to go back and
Why
do
is that? Why do you get jobs if you're doing an acting course?
I just think it was a really good technique. Like it was one of those ones where you're like really bearing like your whole soul to everyone. And it just really gets like those really good nitty gritty engaging performances. And don't you think like you just pull apart the scene and it's so detailed and it's emotional or whatever and engaging and it's just a very good, powerful technique, which I think really worked for me. And then I think I got a bit lazy because I was working, and then I think I now need to do something to sort of like make my.
Though,
they're not. Are they?
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, I think it's like £100 for like two lessons.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like 15 quid. Okay. So basically, I went to the one in LA. Did you ever go to the one in LA with Ivana?
No, I'm terrified of her.
Yeah, everyone's terrified of her. Yeah.
She came over and did a workshop in London, which I did. And I was terrified the whole time.
She's a scary woman. I used to like really look up to her and respect her because when you go, there's an acting school in LA called Ivana Chubbuck, and it's very close to sort of method acting. And she has a book called The Power of the Actor. Yeah. And it's sort of 12 steps, and you follow them. And basically, you write in line with the script how your life is, sort of very roughly, and you replace all the characters for characters you know. Yeah. So when you see them, you're sort of semi-picturing those characters in your fate, and they're normally like someone really close, like your mum or your dad. And then the 12th step is just to forget everything. Yeah. So it's a really good process to have, isn't it? And Patrick's brilliant. He's such a nice guy.
Amazing.
A lot of them, the teachers, especially in LA, they've not done much acting themselves, and they're really picking you apart. So you know everyone's it's not unusual to see half the class crying and being super upset, but Patrick's just really nice and talks you through and gets to those points without being an arsehole.
Would you sign up for it again? Would you do it?
I'm not really. When I did the films, I've been lucky enough. The way I met Matt was I auditioned for one of his films and I did it. And for me, the amount of time waiting around, and not your fault, but the amount of time, and then just doing like 30 seconds of filming.
Not your fault, Matt, but I guess it was.
But your film.
You're slightly to blame.
And then waiting. Yeah, I basically, it was a childhood dream of mine, but I never had the guts to do it. Yeah. When I was young, I used to watch Leo, and it was a dream, and I always wanted to do it. And I tried it, and I did it, and I'm happy I've done it. But for my time, I feel it's better I'm like autistic, so my brain just loves reading books on science. So I went there, I studied the method, I studied the understanding, and I love it. And if there's a film that comes up, of course I'm going to do it. But the amount of time you've got to spend, the amount of no's, the amount of auditions, the amount of people, it's such a big thing to do.
Well, it's committing your life, and you don't know if it's going to pay off.
And you don't. And it's like, but it's when I meet someone like you, it's like, I know you're fully in, you know, and it's like, if I meet an actress who's doing really well, I know that that's it, you're in. Like Alicia, that's all she's doing. There's nothing else, it's that. And I respect that a lot, you know.
And I guess it's sort of, well, for me, it's sort of learning how to deal with the day-to-day no's and the day-to-day of not acting. And I think I've learned that if I can just do something every day that is helping towards my career, whether it's like something as simple as going to the gym, or like maybe doing like a gratitude list, or like, I don't know, like a vocal exercise for 15 minutes, just something where I feel like I've just achieved something today towards acting. That's a tick for me. And then that's what keeps me going. Because it is hard. Like when you haven't worked for a year, it is hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to keep going. And then all of a sudden you get a job or an audition and everything changes and you're rich again.
And you're rich again.
But the Deliveroo's coming. And yeah, exactly.
No, but I know, like when you were with Patrick, you were regularly getting jobs. Like most people don't regularly get jobs. Most people have got to do the sort of thing that you've done. You've got to produce your own stuff. And so like the hardest thing in the world is for an unknown actress, as you were before when you started, to go into a room, which is what I witnessed with you, and to get that. And that's an amazing thing. So that it really is, because most people, I've heard, I don't know if you have to be careful with certain things, but there's one of the biggest actresses in the world. I know, I heard the other day that she actually like pretty much got the whole film funded. So like a 250 million budget, but I don't want to say her name because you know that defamation thing. But yeah, so they've got a huge.
Can you give us a clue so we can work it out?
So this lady who was on the other day, Sally, she's lovely. She told us that we need defamation insurance if we say something about someone that's wrong, because we'll get sued for it.
James has gone really paranoid now.
I basically, me and my friend did start a podcast about this crazy job we did in Spain because the producer was crazy, like to the point, allegedly, he did a poo in the middle of one of the venues because he didn't want to pay for the venue. And like, as we were speaking, I was like, this is just like, we're just going to get sued for this whole podcast because like, so we had to stop because I think we had to talk to like a legal department or something before we like release this.
I think you'd be all right with that. That's like,
do you think?
Yeah, I think you'd be all right. What we're talking about now, what's the name? What's the production? Say it all. We'll take the hit for you.
Will you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take the hit. You hear so many crazy stories that it's just like, it's just mental.
Yeah, people go crazy.
Is your experience in it all right? Like outside of actually doing the job and everything, like your experience on set and everything else, acting has been pretty all right overall?
Yeah, it has. I've had some interesting experiences. Like, so this job I did in Spain, it was actually completely crazy. Like the producer was slightly nuts and like loads of stuff happened. Like he was just firing people all over the place. And when you're in it, and because we were away for 4 months, like when you're in it and something's happening every day and you're in this crazy whirlwind, you're like, it's like unbelievable. I'm just trying to like think of some of the other stories. Like the pooing in the middle of the castle was like one of the big things. Like, and then he used to have like allegedly, but he did. He had like a thing called a pee-pee bag under his desk where the monitors were, because he used to wee in it because he didn't want to go to the toilet.
Wow. How much time are you really saving?
Yeah, it was like all this like really crazy shit that went on. So like, yes, I've had like fun work times, but I've come across some interesting characters for sure.
Yeah, but overall it's been like positive.
Yeah. You have to, yeah.
What do you enjoy doing? Like comedy, dramas?
I love period dramas. Yeah, they're my favourites. I guess what I love most about the characters in period dramas, especially obviously playing a woman, is how women back then had to be a certain way, weren't allowed to say certain things, and it's learning how to communicate through all those sort of barriers that you have to go through as that character. So I find those parts the most interesting because it's sort of like giving voices to people that didn't have voices back then. And also I love the costumes.
And making it your own. Having some
and if it's for smartly written, you can kind of add nuggets.
What? Everyone knows.
Oh, sorry, you're going to talk about prize fight.
Oh, do you remember that period drama you made?
No, I'm not going there. Chill out, let me finish. If it's smartly written,
which prize fighter was very
you can add like nuggets into modern day. So yes, you can dress in the costumes at the time, and you can be that character, but you can say, oh, but this, and the audience of today will go, she meant that, and that's what was happening in society, or that's what happened. And sometimes it's little things. It doesn't have to be like, full-blown monologues. So it's not what you did in Prizefighter.
Where was my monologue in Prizefighter?
I wish. Fucking nightmare. My worst experience of my life. I'm not talking about that.
Oh, come and spill.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Really?
It's just mental. Yeah.
Do you prefer acting or producing?
Acting. Yeah, completely. It's just,
are you going to produce anything else, or are you?
I've had a couple of opportunities, but I don't know. We'll see. Like, jump straight into this. So this is like taking quite a bit of time. There might be something happening at the end of the year, but I don't know. We'll see. At the moment, I'm reading stuff and just, auditioning for stuff and seeing what's out there. So, but yeah, definitely prefer the acting. Just, the producing's mental. I think when Lucy was on, she was like, oh, maybe I want to produce something. And I was just like, don't.
Yeah, I do not like organising. I'm the same as you. Honestly, this temping job I'm doing, all I have to do is like organise meeting rooms, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so stressful.
Just dealing with so many different people, and everyone wants something different. It's like, it's insane. So I don't know. It's like, if you have like this desire to do a particular project, or you really want to just like focus on something, then and you have no other option than do it. But only if it's your last option.
It is a good way. If you could make the whole thing streamline, it is a good way to make yourself an actor in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at Bradley Cooper, Ryan Gosling, they've all got production. Leonardo DiCaprio, they've all got production companies. So it is a good shortcut. Obviously, it costs a lot of money and a lot of time, but it is a good way to have yourself in movies as well.
Totally.
You have a production company.
Yeah,
and you can pick the films, you can write the films.
And if it becomes easier, like if people say, okay, well, do you want to do this project, and all the money's there, and you just have to focus on that, then yeah, you bring in all your friends to to be in it, because I'm a big believer in that. And then it becomes really fun. But it just, to get to that stage is so tricky.
But you wrote Prizefighter. Yeah. So what made you want to write that?
God, so that's like a whole other story. I started writing it 10 years ago, and it was off the back of someone recognizing me, thinking I was my dad.
Yeah. And
he was reading an article about my dad in the 80s, and next to it was this story about Jem Belcher. So it came from that. My dad's not alive, so he passed away. So it was like a weird, like, okay, you can't be your dad, but you look just like him. I just started it 10 years ago and just stuck with it, and just went insane trying to make it. So
his dad. Sorry.
No, you go. Because I was okay.
His dad was 1984 British heavyweight champion. So he was a well-known boxer, and so he wrote it kind of a bit about that, didn't you? And a bit about the birth of boxing.
Yeah, it was linked
to go from like the other films to that bigger budget film. Like there was a load of stress, wasn't there?
Yeah, so much stress, like just crazy.
Because I remember we had a bit of a chat about it, and you said there was like loads of weird synchronicities happening around it, and about you and Jem linked up, and I was like, oh, maybe you were him in the past life.
Yeah, people are saying that. They do think that.
Has anything else?
Died on my birthday, 30th of July.
Yeah, see.
Same mum's name. Fought Henry Pierce in the end fight, which is same name as my dad's, and same weight, same height, same size, pretty much. Yeah, just bonkers. Like loads of weird scenarios.
Do you believe in that? Are you into like numerics?
Totally into all of that.
Really?
Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
Well, I was
reincarnation and stuff.
Oh
like that.
yeah. You should go to a past life regression session and see if you can like regress to that.
I've tried a couple of little trips on YouTube, but they're not working. No, honestly, I've tried these. Like I tried one the other day.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and it was. The problem is I wasn't really focused.
No, you need a real therapist.
And they went to like this. They went to. They did this like.
3D sound?
No. They had these like sounds they were tapping into.
Yeah.
Specific like
music.
Do you know more about this?
Like tuning forks, or like gongs and stuff.
Yeah, it was all.
Yeah.
Like, and it was tapping into, and you had to like be on that frequency. It was all these frequencies and stuff. And someone did it and was like, "Yeah, you go to another universe and you go to this and that in your past life." And I did it. And nothing happened.
So what are your thoughts? What do you believe in with that?
Okay, so I think. I don't like believe in anything solid, because I think when you start believing in some like solid stuff, that's I think where you can go a bit wrong. So like I have theories. Well, I listen to theories, and I sort of of the belief that we have many lives, and that you can have past lives, parallel lives. Time is sort of everything's happening at the same time. Time isn't linear. And and each life that you come into, you sort of like repeat patterns from past lives, which is maybe why you are repeating this sort of like boxing life, but in a different format, maybe.
So you wouldn't. So with that, with so he wouldn't know his past life. He would just have a subconscious memory of it.
So so if you were going to like a past life regression, what they would do is they really, really, really relax your body, and they take you to sort of like a part of your brain where you access your memories. And then it's usually like a very visual thing. So I've been to a couple, and in the ones that you sort of have to get your logical brain out the way if you have to sort of be in it a bit. And you sort of see images of...
Do you have to take anything like mushrooms
No.
or like
No. That's why I'm not going anymore.
No, because I don't know how to get to that point in your brain.
It's sort of relaxation. It's sort of like letting go of your logical mind, and also like a bit of practice at like meditation and mindfulness, and really sort of like letting go. And the lady that I went to last year, she like trains you where you're going to see those images come from. So like if you shut your eyes and you like imagine a yellow daffodil, that where that image has come from in your brain is where you're then going to see images from your past life being projected into your brain. So it's sort of a bit woo-woo, like take it or leave it. A lot of people don't believe in it. A lot of people do. I think it's interesting. So like I like exploring that sort of stuff. But for me, so I did this past life regression. I sort of like saw myself as like a Victorian woman, and sort of all this stuff sort of happened to me. And it was like quite a visceral experience. Like I ended up like my whole body was shaking. I was like really, really crying. And you're sort of like really weirdly emotionally invested in it, even though it's just sort of like images in your brain. So that sort of made me think, oh, maybe this is like a bit more real than sort of something I'm making up in my brain. But I think I don't totally believe it. I don't totally not believe it. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. And I think that's probably quite a healthy way
I think I kind of believe in it. And you even just got to look at dreams. Like dreams are so bizarre in so many ways. Like they've got to like mean something.
Well, you can live 80 years in like 3 minutes in your dream. You can live from, you can be a child into an adult in the space of a few seconds in a dream. Yeah. But that's really interesting what you say, because I remember trying like with a therapy session ages ago, they tried doing when you're a baby. And they'd make you hold a pillow, and they'd do a lot of, like you say, mindfulness and getting your mind into the right place, like an hour before. And you'd have to imagine, they'd say, okay, so who's in the room? You've just been born. Like, is your mum there? Is your dad there? And they'd make you imagine everything so that you can then talk to your younger self. But this isn't that, is it? What you're talking about is actually another life.
Oh, James, mate, that was when you were in hospital. Just that was another story.
Because, okay, so that past life regression is really interesting, because you could find out why you follow certain patterns, why you behave certain ways, why Matt's following this same...
Yeah.
Okay.
Can it help you with the future?
Yeah. Because if you're saying maybe undoing like negative patterns that you keep repeating, you could sort of like become aware of it, heal it, and then move on to something like a different pattern, a more productive pattern.
If you got emotional about it, there must be some truth to it, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. Like, I'm sort of like, oh, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, it's so real, because I don't know it was so real. But the experience I had felt very real, and the images that were coming to me also felt very, very real. So...
And you were creating those images yourself, you know. So
well, they were coming they came from somewhere.
Life experience.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's a really good book by Dolores Cannon. She was like a past life regression therapist, and over the years, I think she was like from the 60s to the 90s, she regressed loads and loads and loads of people, and she's like written loads of books about it. And she regressed this woman, and this book's called Jesus and the Essenes. And the Essenes were this group of spiritual people with advanced knowledge who were around just before the birth of Jesus. And this woman goes into so much detail about their lives, their practices, their beliefs at the birth of Jesus. And it's just so interesting. Again, take it or leave it. Like, you don't have to believe everything you're reading in the book, but it's just such an interesting concept, because this woman who's being regressed, who she's written this whole book about, doesn't remember anything that she says when she comes out of this trance. So it's really interesting. I think it's the Convoluted Universe. She writes her other books. Again, people that are born on different planets. So it's not necessarily this planet. It's sort of, it can be in different star systems and stuff. So yeah, I'm so interested in all that.
It's got to be so good for you. It's got to be so relaxing.
Well, but also like, so in physics, like one of the main rules, and it's sort of been broken a little bit now with like the Higgs boson and certain like particles, but the one main rule is nothing's created, nothing's destroyed. Mm-hmm. So energy is only converted. So if I burn this table, I'll have gas, I'll have some solid, some bits of wood, and some. So if that's just scientific fact, right? For this universal physics, if that is the case, then when you do pass away, depending on your belief, right? So do you remember the film 21 Grams? So when you die, your body weighs 21 grams less. So you have these things called quantum tubules in your telomeres in your brain. And one theory was when you die, that evaporates. So there was this lady, she was being operated on. This doctor operated on like 5,000 near-death experienced patients. And this lady was completely blind. Like not like our friend Adam, completely couldn't see anything. And she passed away on the operating table. They brought her back to life, and she described everybody in the room to a T because she sort of came out of her body. So what my thoughts with it is, Nikola Tesla, he said he thought that he could communicate with his dead mother. So I did a bit of research into Tesla, and he created all of the wireless communication that we have now. So Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, all these different things. And through us now, everything's vibrating, right? And there's a frequency, whether it's radio frequency, whether it's radiation, there's stuff emanating off of every single particle in the universe all the time. So if that is the case, and we know because we can pick it up, because this is picking up the sound, which is just a vibration of atoms. So it makes sense that other things.
James, there's no one there. What's happening?
Who are you talking to, James?
This is where you've gone too far on this topic.
No, I'm relating.
This is good. This is interesting. I'm telling you, I'm
joking. Bye, Ellie.
So my we got 30 minutes, remember? So my thing is that, like, if Nikola Tesla, who back then in 1895, he basically sent wireless communications 50 miles, right? About 1895. And now we've only just got Wi-Fi, right? So if we have, as you know, radio waves coming to us, and we know because we can speak to satellites and all different things, it was very easy to say, okay, telephone telepathy or some form of like human-to-human consciousness is more than likely, I would say, that we can communicate with each other or with other. And if that's between us in this physical sort of three-dimensional world, then that could also be in any other dimension or any other world, which would be past lives, like you say, if time's non-linear. Yeah. You can just literally fold time and space like that, get back to a past point in your life and communicate. So it's just how much more have we got to evolve till we get there?
Totally.
It's weird. I really believe in it. I really believe in the fact that there's definitely different universes and people living somewhere else and all this different life. But I look at like, if that all existed here on Earth, then, all these shows, you see all these shows where they've done like on, they used to do on Living TV where they go to these haunted houses and they see these ghosts. No one's ever seen anything. Like
there's no proof. Same with the aliens.
Yeah, no one's ever picked up anything like
proof.
I just think if that existed here, wouldn't there be one thing that someone could go, oh my God, this is like completely
the counter
different
to that, right?
But I believe it's outside of this Earth. I believe, all these different universes.
That glass is three-dimensional objects, right? The shadow is 2 dimensions. So when you go down, this is the theory. When you go down a dimension scale, you see the thing 1 dimension lower in a shadow. So you see this shadow here is 2 dimensions, but it's off of a 3-dimensional object. So if you lived in a 1-dimensional world, you just see this plane. And if this glass passed through this 1-dimensional world, you just see a big blob, that line coming through, and it would disappear. So it'd be something coming into your vision and then going. So if there's a 4-dimensional world, all the shadows would be in 3D. Like in our 3-dimensional world, these shadows are just 2 dimensions. So 4 dimensions would see us, but we couldn't see them. So if that 4-dimensional world exists, we wouldn't be able to see it.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. All right.
So that's the counter to that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think he trumped you there.
But have you ever seen a medium or a psychic?
Oh, yes, of course I have all the time. Yes, I love it. I actually love it.
Really?
Yeah, my question is always like, what's going to happen in my career? Yeah. They're always like, oh, yes, I see this. And actually, before I got Prizefighter, she was like, oh, I see they're taking me to, because her guides would show her visuals. She's like, they were taking me to the Wallace collection, which is like a collection of portraits, and it's like all Georgian costumes. And I was like, wow. And then I did Prizefighter. I was like, oh my God, she was right. Yeah. It was Lady Victorian Prize.
I do find it fascinating. My mum's a big fan of that. She goes to it as well. And
you believe in it?
I do, because I've seen it. Like there's
God.
I have.
No.
Like, my mum took a picture of her. I think she did a thumbprint, and this woman that she did this with was living in Canada, and she sent the thumbprint to her in Canada, and obviously they've never met. But she was telling stories about my grandfather and things about my career, and it was just
weird, isn't it?
Really weird, because like they've never met. And I was like, well, there's something
there.
Powerful
There's
there.
something there.
Yeah,
I had this.
fascinating.
So this is the woman that I went to see. I went to see her like a couple of years ago. And she was like, oh, they're telling me dangerous liaisons. I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, got home and Googled, and I was like, oh, maybe they're going to do a remake of Dangerous Liaisons. And like for a year, like nothing came up. And then suddenly a producer friend of mine was like, oh, do you know they're like remaking Dangerous Liaisons? I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be in it. The psychic told me. And then 6 months later, I got an audition for it.
Wow.
And then didn't get it.
See that? Yeah. I mean, that's...
So...
will it not like, I don't know, I just think, believe it, like applying to all those things would just make you like think things, you just have so many things to think about, because you're like, right, I'm waiting for that. And like you said, it comes in a year time
bad.
and then it doesn't happen. So wait till you think about that and then something else gets told.
But
It would just like flood your brain.
But these people are having visions, but they maybe can't be, right on the money with exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But they are seeing visions of something happening connected to those.
The biggest psychic, one of them, I know Darren Brown, he sort of like debunks a lot of psychics, doesn't he? Yeah. But this one physicist has gone online, he's given £1 million prize to anyone who can read his future. So he said, anyone can come and be a psychic to me, but so far no one's got anything right for him.
Yeah.
So he's going.
How's he going to know that?
Sorry?
How's he going to know about it?
So he's put £1 million prize out. I wish I could remember his name. And he's invited any psychic to go and to sort of challenge them and say, like, tell me what's going to happen in my future.
Yeah, but how's he going to know if it's going to happen?
Because he'll tell them, they'll wait for 6 months, see if that thing happens. If it does, he'll give them the money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not happened.
I do find it all quite fascinating.
Yeah. But then so then what some people say is that you have many different timelines. So you could be on your highest timeline and that's when you're feeling the most productive and like everything, or, if you're feeling a bit low, whatever, you're sort of like moving to a lower timeline and maybe you're making different choices. So it just all depends on, I guess, you in the moment and in that. But yeah.
I think a lot of it's on like a belief system, right? Because you do create your own reality, don't you?
Yeah.
So it's what you believe in, I think, is the thing that like would drive probably what's going to happen to you.
But then there's people that have the power to hypnotize you, and then they can maybe stop you from smoking or whatever it may be, or do something funny on stage. Or whatever. And I think that's like something out of this world crazy. Like
you've got to be a type of person to be hypnotized.
Yeah, you do.
It can't be any person.
Yeah.
A friend of mine does it, and he used to hypnotize someone in front of me. And it was brilliant. And I said, do it to me. I really want to do it. And he couldn't. He said,
What is it about the person that gets hypnotized that can get hypnotized?
It's been able to... What my friend said to me, and he does this for a living, and honestly, my mate that he was hypnotized in front of me was just crazy. He hypnotized him, and we were on set doing stunt work, and he was telling him, he's going, "You've just won the lottery," and he would be on set, and he'd go, yes, and he did terrible stuff to him. I don't know if I should say this, but he was like, he would go up to him and be like, You're about to have an orgasm or come, and he'd just go like that in the middle of honestly, yeah.
Which
like,
film? The scene?
This was just during like offset stunt time. Yeah, crazy stuff. The lottery was hilarious. That's like, and everyone would just be laughing their head off. Yeah, and then he'd go, "You're out of it," and my mate would just go, "What happened?"
No.
And I used to say to him because I used to go and watch his shows. His name's Matt, and I would just say, try and do it to me. And he'd sit down. And they're basically like, you've got to be the type of person that can just relax your brain so he can just, essentially take control for a period of time. And if you're like hyper focused or you've got ADHD or whatever, then, it's just, you just can't do it. If your brain's like ticking in the right way. But I'd love to have it done because I saw my mate have it and I was like, wow.
What?
It was the funniest thing. He was like, right, sleep. And he'd fall asleep on his shoulder.
What?
In front of everyone, film crews, everything.
I've been to a show where they were hypnotizing people and getting them out from the crowd. And there was a guy that I went with, Sam, and literally they brought him on stage and they said, like, every time you come onto stage, you've forgotten your scarf. So there was like a pile of scarves like right next to the audience. And so he would just literally get to the stage, run back up and go, oh shit, I forgot my scarf. And then like he would run back on to the audience and he would do that about 50 times whilst the show was still going on. He was still running up and down.
It's crazy. And I think when you have the license to be a hypnotist or you've got something, like you have to make sure that you take people out of it before the end because you can just leave them there and they're just stuck. We've gone a little bit crazy topics and stuff.
I love it.
Olivia, I was going to ask, you always seem like, I remember I only saw you like once or twice in class and now you always sort of seem happy and like positive. Like where does that come from, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. Because I'm definitely not always happy and positive. But I guess, do you know what? I really enjoy people. Right. So when I meet people, they genuinely make me happy. And I love talking to people. I love like listening to people, and I think I get energy from people. And also I love the acting world. So I think you've probably seen me in sort of those situations where I'm like either going to do some performance or something, and I just, it makes me happy.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I'm just happy to be around you guys, really. But I think it is that sort of like mental health management, because I definitely can get really, really low. And like, especially like in this industry, like where you get your knockbacks a lot. And, you know, I did say earlier, but like, I think it's just making sure you're grateful for like everything you've got in your everyday life, and grateful for those little things. And I think those things just keep you happy.
Do you have like a daily routine? I know you have this one thing you've got to do every day, but is there like a routine you follow to keep yourself like...
Yeah, I try and do like a little bit of meditation in the mornings.
Which one? Any specific one, or just...
Just sort of like, just a little bit of mindfulness, sort of my own stuff. Like I used to, like when I first started, I used to do that Headspace app. I thought it was really, really cool. And now...
How long do you meditate for?
Andy Puddicombe, that's really...
Like about half an hour, 15 minutes to half an hour, just depending on like how much time I've got in the mornings, maybe longer at a weekend if I've got more time, but that's definitely helped my mental health. And sometimes I follow tracks and sort of like really try and connect and be in my body. Those ones really, really help.
Breathing techniques.
Breathing stuff. Yeah. And then gratitude is like the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
If I just write 10 things a day that I'm grateful for, that just like lifts my mood instantly.
Isn't it so great that everyone, like people talk about this now, like even like mental health and stuff, it's just so, it's been a lot more, you know, talked about. I'm the same as you. I literally, if I wake up, I'm like, okay, breathe in. Like little things that people just don't think about, or you can see, you can feel, you can touch, you feel good. Splash some water on your face. How like, you know, that just immediately lowers your anxiety. So little things like that, if you just tap into that world of appreciating those stuff, everything else is like, you know.
It can be harder though if if something's taken over and you are in a low space. It's even with the meditation and everything else.
It's the last thing you want to do.
It is. It can still be hard.
Yeah, and I think on those days, and I definitely have many of those days, you have to ride it out. And sometimes, if it means staying in bed all day, stay in bed all day, because there's nothing worse than suppressing that feeling or judging that feeling.
Right.
And that's definitely something I've learned recently. Like, love your dark feelings, because you have to love all of yourself, because if you don't love yourself, like you're just going to judge yourself and you're just going to be a cycle of self-hate and stuff. So just love all of you, because you have those feelings for a reason. So, you know.
Yeah. And the next day you always, like, I don't know if you figure this, but you always wake up differently. Even if you still wake up a little bit shit, you still wake up differently.
That is weird how you wake up a different person every day.
Every day.
Like, it's so weird.
Because I'll be like, if anything happens, like stressed or with the film, I'll just go, okay, I need to just go to sleep because tomorrow it might start differently.
It's acceptance, isn't it? It's understanding that you have to sort of feel a certain way, and it's okay to feel that way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
That's interesting to like say that those feelings in the morning or whenever they are okay, and that's part of me. It's really nice what you said there, because I think like it's good to say you have these things to do, but sometimes you don't feel like doing all of that stuff, and it's like, how do you get out of it at that point? Do you know what I mean? Especially with the world the way it is at the moment. Like, it seems a bit crazy to me the way things are going, but we spoke about it last time, didn't we? About the way. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just interested to see what you can say.
Okay, so I was thinking yesterday, I'm always positive and happy, but after this whole pandemic thing, I don't know if we should talk about this. Are we all right for time?
Yeah, we got.
Just because I really love your like outlook on things, so it'd be interesting to hear. Like, you know, if you look at every area in the world right now, so if you look at education, whether it's like all these things are happening to it, right? Like, so, you know, gender politics, all these like really crazy things. If you look at the healthcare system, lots of people aren't agreeing with it. You know, people are being forced to do things they don't want to do. Like literally every area, politics, like who trusts the prime minister, who trusts the presidents, what they say. Like if you go into like tech, big tech, like every area you look, it seems to have almost at the moment be like infiltrated with negativity. And the more I look into it, and I think it's because I'm getting older, I'm reading more into these things and looking at them. When I was younger, I just didn't care because all I cared about was me. So it's like, okay, I can be happy, I can do whatever I want. But now there's just all these areas that are being hit, and it feels like morality of the world is going out the window a little bit. That's my thought.
Are they being hit though, or are they being questioned?
I think a lot of them are being hit. Like if you look at healthcare with, you know, I mean, I don't go into specifics, I don't want to get into trouble.
But there's lots of areas that are kind of,
The more you look at, the more with it. And I think that's making people feel that there's more that they need to do with their own mental health to improve, because there's an underlying feeling of anxiety. If you're locked down, like if you're in this country and you know there's a lockdown for 2 years, they're talking about locking down, I think Australia or somewhere next month or wherever it is. There's always going to be this underlying. So it's how do you get through that when things aren't looking great?
What do you think on that? Do you think we should be aware of those things and kind of, or do you think just live your life and enjoy?
This is what I do. I don't look at the news every day. I keep a little eye on it to see what's happening. But I think, during COVID, if I was watching the news every day, that is when I'd spiral, because there was no point seeing how many deaths there were every day.
It was so weird, wasn't it? Every day we used to see how many deaths there were.
Yeah, it was awful. And I think this is what I do. I have to focus on myself. Like, what can I do to help the situation? Because that's the only thing that I ultimately have control in. So in my diet, like, I don't eat animals. So I feel like that's how I can contribute to that. Like with electricity, sort of like turning off light, and if we can all just focus on ourselves, that is what's going to make a bigger impact, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, like you say, with the electricity and all those, if everyone does that, you can, you're right, you can fix.
What made you become vegan? How long have you been?
I've been vegan for 5 years, and I was vegetarian before that. I've always been like a massive animal lover.
Same.
And then I think I started watching more sort of Cowspiracy, and I was like, oh, yeah, I need to
watch Earthlings.
No. When you've watched one, like, okay, I'm vegan, I can't watch anymore. I'm done. I get it.
My ex-girlfriend was vegan, so I was vegetarian for a little bit, and then I went to vegan for a little bit, and then I came under so much stress, so I came out of it because my diet and my health wasn't good. I was just eating pasta and chocolate, basically, because I was just in a bit of a weird space with one of the films. And but you can watch one of those. You don't need to watch it because you're already hooked. But if you go and if anyone watches Earthlings, like, it's enough for you. It is like, it's narrated by Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
It's old. It's like 2003. But it's hard hitting. Yeah. It's really hard hitting.
Yeah.
And it's like flipping out. It's enough to, convert anyone. But I agree. You just have to start watching those things.
Yeah. And then it just sort of like, connects those dots, doesn't it? Because like we all know what happens when an animal gets sent to a slaughterhouse, but when you really see it and you really understand the industry, it is horrific, and you just don't want to be I just don't want to be any part.
It's not even the fact that like it's happening; it's like the thought of like you eating that as well. It's crazy.
Yeah, the pain and suffering they go through before it lands on your plate.
And we don't even need, the thing is, we don't need to eat it. Like, lots of people say, oh, you need your protein, you need this, but you can get all of that from plants. You really, truly can. And like, yes, there is bad vegan food, like you can get shit burgers or whatever, but like, if you really looked at what you need, like your macronutrients, you could get that all from plants. You just have to figure out.
Oh, look at vegan burgers these days. Like they're just as good, if not nicer, than normal burgers.
The caveat to that though is like there's lots of people on just a meat diet, isn't there? Like yourself, I think there's.
Jay dropping bombs.
I'm throwing him under the bus only because I'm a big meat eater myself. My mum's a vegetarian, and like she cooks the most amazing meat dishes, but she's never tried it. And I'm just like, how does my mum do that? But like, I love meat. I've always loved meat. I've always been, and like you, James, like you'll do like a next level.
Wait, is it Jordan Peterson that only eats beef and salt?
So what it was, as the internet's growing, right? We were saying like we have these pillars that we look up to. So I always used to love Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Mike Tyson. Just these sort of figures that I used to look up to. And two of them went on this diet called the carnivore diet. I'm sorry.
God. No.
And basically, but it's not just. It's very aged meat. It's animals that are just about to die. It's all organic, grass-fed cows and this sort of thing. But Jordan Peterson got very, very sick. He almost died. And he went on it at his age.
Is it just beef and salt?
It's just beef. It's just animals basically. But it's the organs. So it's like liver and then. So he
that's
went
like that Liver King guy as well.
But that's different. But so I don't want to get into that one. But with Jordan Peterson, he cleared within a year and a half his ailments. And then Joe Rogan went on it for a year and a half, and he's 56, and he did this thing on YouTube where he took his top off, and he's absolutely, in very good shape. But there's obviously an argument both sides. Yeah. So a friend of ours, Link, suggested I do it, and my friend's like, "What are you doing? This is the most unhealthy." Like their natural reaction was, "This is super unhealthy." Yeah. I did try. I like to try all different diets, and I remember watching Game Changers. And that do you remember?
Oh yeah.
That made me
the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing where they just basically like debugged like the whole meat thing. Yeah.
But there's so much conflicting because then you can read a study on meat and how many nutrients there are in certain meats. So it's like it is. Yeah. You're right. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways. Yeah.
There is in some ways, but it's not just that. It's how it's like, it's the fact of killing it, how it's killed, all these different things.
With that, I saw a shark the other day on it was on a Instagram video, and these guys were like, there was a shark and it came on the shore, and they put like a knife in there, and I felt the pain. And this woman was saying, she was a freediver, famous freediver. She went, why are you killing them? They go, they went, we're hungry, we need to eat. And so I get it. They were starving. They were in, I think, Mexico, and I understand that they need to eat. But I hated seeing that.
Yeah.
So then I'm thinking, okay, but I'm doing this every day.
Totally.
I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know.
I think sharks are one of the most killed animals, apparently, in terms of. Yeah. I saw a documentary. Apparently, they're killed millions and millions all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
God, did not know that.
Really, really, like really high. Have you seen, slightly positive note, but similar topic. Have you seen My Octopus Teacher?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God.
No, what is
that?
that?
Trailer has popped up on Netflix many a time.
That's
Okay,
like,
I've never ever eaten an octopus after I watched that.
good, yeah, that's exactly it, yeah. It's so weird. I'll tell you what it does. It does the perfect thing for anyone that
Do you
eats.
eat octopus?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, vegan, isn't it? Vegan.
Okay.
Just eat octopus.
You just said yes.
No, I'm joking. I'm a vegan.
It's a vegan.
I thought vegans no meat.
Oh my God.
Vegans no meat.
The octopus is meat.
It's fish though, no?
Oh my God.
But any
Fish
animal.
is meat.
Any animal.
Any animal.
Any animal.
I thought, isn't a pescatarian? No.
That's pescatarian. Pescatarian eats fish. Vegans
Vegan-
eat any meat. No.
Fish. Oh my God.
Fish isn't meat.
Of course it is.
Is it? It's fish.
Of course it is.
mate.
It was alive. And then
We are
it
not
died.
cutting this. This is not being
Keep
cut.
this
A plant
in.
was
Keep
alive
this
and
in.
then it
Stupidest
died.
thing he said out of like 10 episodes. It's the stupidest thing he said.
I'm honoured.
I
And I'll
thought,
say-
I'm honoured to be around it.
vegan was.
Right, you got
So
vegetarian
pescatarian-
first.
Yeah.
You
Which-
still don't eat meat.
No. Pescatarian, you
Yeah.
eat fish but no meat.
Right.
Vegan, no meat, no dairy products, so no animal byproducts.
No animal products
yeah.
at all. No
That
butter.
come from an animal.
No butter. No dairy.
Right.
Nothing.
No eggs.
No eggs. No.
That's part of the dairy.
Have you ever been to
No,
Bali?
no baby chickens. No. Okay. Sure. So which one are you, James? Which one are you?
What do you mean?
Which one are you? You know which one you are?
Well, I'm not a vegan.
Yeah. Oh, well, fucking hell. That's a good start.
He's on the fucking
Let's go on there.
dinosaur
What-
diet.
Which? Come on, fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex. Which one are you?
I want to know. I can't believe you can pronounce that.
I think I said it wrong. Actually. Which one are you?
I'm.
Well, he doesn't eat octopus, so.
I don't eat octopus.
I
which
have
one are
eaten
you?
I'm an
octopus.
octoparian.
But honestly, going back to my
Octopus story.
Octopus Teacher, this is the perfect documentary that, like, if you're going to convince someone to stop eating something, it's not like hard hitting
I'm
and
gonna check the
showing
camera,
you
check
like,
the camera.
you know, knife to throat kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
this guy builds this relationship with this octopus, and it's just
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's incredible, and it literally
What do you mean he builds a relationship with an octopus?
it just
Watch it. Go watch it.
I'll watch it,
tonight.
but like,
it's so hard to explain. This guy, like, basically goes away. He goes like to find himself and goes on this like journey himself, and he just starts swimming every day
right.
in the ocean. We'll pick up the octopus thing now when he gets back. That's just he's the funniest thing. Honestly, he is so smart. He said the smartest things for 10 episodes, and he's like quantum mechanics. This, like, you know, and then he's just said. I don't know what he said. I have to watch
What's a
that back.
vegan?
No, I do get obvious things wrong. You know that. Like,
I love that.
I get real. No. Do you know? Like, I didn't know.
thanks.
Cheers, mate. Not now. Cheers.
Oh,
water.
sorry.
You know. No. I get like the months. You know, like March is January, February, March. I still have to go with the numbers with my fingers for March.
Yeah, I still do that.
So many.
Like weird.
I
like
still do that.
I can get like science things, but basic things I don't get.
Yeah.
So I didn't, because I've heard vegan so many times, obviously.
Yeah.
But I thought
It's because you've got a fridge full of meat.
I thought meat
I have
was
no idea.
Yeah, but I'm on a more balanced diet now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Olivia's a vegan,
I'm a
and it
vegan.
means you don't eat fish.
Don't eat
Or
fish.
octopus.
Octopus.
Okay.
On the
Let's pick up the octopus.
back to
teacher.
the Octopus Teacher. It's the perfect documentary for anyone to watch, where it's not going to be hard hitting. Where, you know, if I put Earthlings on for my mum, she'd just turn it off because she'd be like, I can't watch that, it's too much. Or if anything that's like killing or this and that, people don't want to see it. This guy who builds this relationship with this octopus is just insane. Like, it just
The same one.
insane.
Are you talking about one octopus that he's building a relationship
Yeah.
with, or many?
No
No,
one.
one.
Oh,
What
right,
is
okay.
happening on this side of the
I
table?
Oh my God.
No, but you
The brain level is just.
Is he sure that's water?
Have you,
was
yeah,
heavy, it
what are
was
you
heavy, yeah.
drinking?
I want to know, like,
Just
drink-
one
do you
octopus
drink
or?
Yeah.
You do.
Of
So-
course. Don't worry.
right.
Vegans do drink alcohol.
There's no meat
It's like
extract.
tea drink. Yes.
Just drink some tequila with an egg in it or a worm.
Or the maggot at the bottom.
So I'll try and explain it.
Come on.
This guy builds this relationship with one octopus.
Right, okay.
He goes to do this soul searching himself. He swims every day. You've seen it, right?
No, I haven't seen it. I've seen the advert. I've seen the trailer.
And he free swims in this ocean, and he goes down and sees this octopus, and he builds this relationship with this octopus. Like this one octopus comes out. First of all, it's nervous. Over time and months, he keeps going back, and it greets him, and then it hugs him, and it does all this weird stuff, and it swims with him. An octopus.
That's
it's
very
insane.
strange.
And he talks about the octopus, and he goes to see it every day, and it's just a basic form of like, wow, this is like, first of all, a very intelligent creature in many ways that we already know, but also it has like feelings, and if you spend enough time with it, it can connect with you. And we are so far apart, right? A human versus an octopus. It's crazy. And there's, there's a little bit of sadness to it as well, but it's just the perfect documentary for anyone to watch to go, right, I never want to eat octopus again, because it's such a nice, awe-inspiring story that just leaves you like really like, oh, I don't need to do that. Like that's just done for me.
Okay, what about this then? I mean, so I know nothing about this. I probably shouldn't talk about it, but with that, they're in the wild. I agree, and that's why I've not eaten them again. And I'm like, but if they're bred to be eaten, that's a different thing.
It's interesting because they did an octopus farm in the UK recently, and when you go to Malta, they've got fish farms everywhere, and it's really interesting because I don't believe in it, but at the same time, it's like, if they're being creative for that specific reason, does it make it a little bit more okay? I don't know.
I don't think it does.
It doesn't, obviously, but
it's not fair on that animal that they're sort of like woken up, being born into this life where they're being bred. So if that particular octopus who he had that connection with happened to be born into the octopus farm, but the same personality, but then it just has more unfortunate circumstances.
But it wouldn't have been born though. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't have been bred first. So like if it was just being born just to be eaten, then it wasn't born. It wouldn't have been born anyway.
Oh, I think that's a good point. That's a good point.
No, but it's still being born. It's still being bred. It is being born.
Yeah. So it's being born, but it's just for the purposes of being farmed.
But it's still alive.
Yeah. So then it is being killed. But at the beginning, it's only being made into the world purely by a factory, to be eaten. Is that different, do you think? Like,
no, because
once it's alive, it's alive.
Yeah, once it's alive, it's alive. Like, so basically, I volunteered a bit at this animal sanctuary, and they rescued loads of animals from slaughter, and like all the sheep that had been there for years, they all had little personalities. Like the woman who owned it could call them over by name.
Oh, right. So because it's grown up and it's had a life, that is then cruel to kill it.
Yeah, but I think it's cruel. I think it's cruel as a human being to kill anything. And I don't think we're going to progress as human beings, and we're not going to evolve if we keep killing. And that's animals, that's each other, that's everything. Because like if we still killing in our lives, like I just can't see. It's just not good. Do you know what I mean?
You got to think of from a human's perspective as well. You wouldn't bring a baby into life to then kill it.
Exactly.
As soon as you compare it to humans, it's like, oh, that's crazy.
Exactly.
But you wouldn't give birth to a baby to kill it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have like breeding. Do you know what? That is the one film that over lockdown, I was like, if I was to write a film, this is what I'd write about, and it would be sort of set in sort of a different world, where so it's sort of like the metaphor is like veganism. So women were being milked like cows are milked, and babies are being born and then bred and then killed for sort of like the elite to have their food and stuff. So like you go into this crazy sort of dystopian world
because there's no animals left.
Because there's no animals, exactly. And it's like, is that okay? And all these women like have like the pumps on, like they pump the cows, and like the babies are being killed and then served on like plates and stuff. And it's like, well, why is it all right to do that to animals? And do you know what I mean?
Have you heard how many children go missing in China every year?
Oh God.
Okay, I won't.
No, go tell me.
It's a huge number. It's a 6-digit number.
Why?
I mean, it's obviously it depends whether you want to go down the conspiratorial route or the factual route. But a lot of children go missing. We've had somebody on already who discusses where some of them go, where they're trafficked, which is horrible, obviously. But there's also this thing called parabiosis, where I shouldn't say this, but we can always take this if you don't like it. But
are they being eaten?
No, parabiosis is a thing. If you take blood plasma from a younger person and put it in an older person, the older person reverses in age.
I've heard of this. And this is okay. Well, I'm going to go conspiracy. There's this video on YouTube, and it's Sandra Bullock being interviewed by Ellen.
Right.
And she's basically saying about this skin cream that she uses, and it's made from the foreskin of a young Asian child.
Foreskin?
of the foreskin.
Wow.
And she admits it. I don't know.
That's crazy because, you know, Victoria Beckham, she admitted to, and again, that could be wrong, but she admitted to using a face cream that uses blood. No,
sorry, I'm just taken back by you when you said foreskin.
Watch the video. She says it, and she says those words. That's what she says.
I know. I believe you. It's just
we'll just let these two talk. So Sandra Bullock's fucked. Victoria Beckham's just been thrown under the bus.
No, so basically, it's a fact. It's called parabiosis, right? If you put young,
just rip your foreskin off.
If you put a young person's blood into an older person, the older person reverses in age.
You did a documentary on this.
Yeah.
But
did you do a documentary on it?
I made a video on it. It's called Parabiosis.
Yeah.
And it's been happening since the 60s, and it's like you know, it happens. They do it in mice.
Didn't work, obviously.
And they're now doing it on skin cells, but they're not using blood fraction. They're using this thing called Yamanaka factors. But the point is, you can take young blood and put in an older person, and they do reverse in age. So obviously it depends. Nobody will know the real number, but we had somebody on here. Again, it's really pretty dark. I don't know why I'm going down this route today, but he told us about all the organ harvesting that happens.
Oh God, yeah.
It happens a lot. Happens in all the different countries. So actually, he didn't go that much into it.
Yeah, but he mentioned it. Yeah, that's crazy.
So you would make a movie on those, on basically that happening.
Do you want to make it? Do you want to make it?
Look how lovely
you can produce it. What's your thoughts on like I know like, for example, like you can do this skin treatment for your face and your hair, and it's similar to that. And there's a fine line between this, and I think I know what you're going to say, but I'll ask you anyway.
Yeah.
The serum is taken from like I think it's an umbilical cord or something from an Australian deer. And it's like the richest.
So random. How do people come up with this?
Yeah, it's like supposed to be the richest form of, you know, serum or
get umbilical, you get
stem cells or whatever.
Stem cells you can get from umbilical cords or mesenchymal stem cells.
Like, what's your thoughts on something like this? So apparently the animal's not hurt. Apparently it's got to come out of their system, but obviously it's super rich in this cells and stuff that is probably good for us or good for our skin. But it's still from an animal. The animal's not hurt.
Yeah. Okay, I think the animal's not hurt is a byproduct. I would be like, great, I'd use it. But the only problem is, as soon as we all start going, I'm going to use it, that is when companies go, oh, great, we can make money out of this. And the animals start getting exploited.
And mass farm it or whatever,
I nearly had... if you grew an animal, right, in a lab? No, because this happened.
Yeah, like grew meat? Grown meat?
Yeah, but you don't grow the heart and the brain, but you grow the rest of the animal. So it's a living thing on I know, it's horrible. Yeah. But it can't feel anything, doesn't know it's alive.
I don't know about that. But what about actual lab-grown meat where it's just the cells growing into flesh?
That's what Leonardo DiCaprio did, didn't he, with his burger?
Oh, has he done it?
Yeah, he grew like a...
Yeah.
He developed a burger that just had meat cells so they could make other meats.
Do you still get the nutritional value from that type of meat?
Apparently,
if it's not being, if it doesn't have a brain or it doesn't have a heart and the blood's not pumping around the body in the right way. Do you know what I mean? It's more so processed in that respect.
Yeah. I think I just eat plants. I mean, it is interesting. I think it's interesting for people who love meat. If you can grow lab-grown meat without, I'd say maybe not like growing the animal thing, but actually growing it from a cell and like growing a steak, I think that is great. But I think I've gone so far away from that now. I don't really think I'd enjoy like a steak or anything.
Yeah, when you go further enough away, you realise. I mean, when I was vegetarian for that short period of time, I developed so much energy.
Really?
Crazy amount of energy.
I heard 73% of vegans, eat a burger when they're drunk. Is that true?
No, I don't know.
No, not vegan. Not vegan. Maybe vegetarian.
Yeah, maybe vegan.
All right, so when you go vegan, that's a lifestyle.
You had a lot of energy.
Yeah, because you were on a
massive amount of energy.
You were on a keto diet when you were going through this process where it releases these chemicals in your body that was just allowing you to fire this.
Well, the thing with the vegetarian side as well, I started eating so much more broccoli and meat. You know, one thing that meat does, which I'm pretty sure, even if it gives you energy afterwards, it slows you down. And there's some crazy stat, like I think something stupid like 70% of most Americans have a line of meat that's just constantly stuck in their stomach.
Aren't we meat?
Huh?
Aren't we meat?
Well, meat from another animal.
Right.
Yeah, because it's just, basically stuck there. Yeah, just stuck there because,
Really?
Yeah, because they consume so much meat. And when you look into like certain facts, like another fact which was really great, that something crazy like, I'm not going to get the exact number right, but it's something like 90% of meat produced and bought in America is by McDonald's. right? You can believe that because
It's not 90%.
something crazy. Yeah, something crazy. Like way high. It might even be more than that. It's produced and bought for McDonald's. So that
It can't be 90%.
okay, even if it's 70%, but it's higher than that. It's way higher than that. But even if it's 70%, even if it's 40%, whatever it may be, but the thing that I read was it was 90%. That changes the way that meat is produced throughout the whole America. Because if one institute is producing the most amount of meat and the most amount of quality of meat, it doesn't matter if you're eating something else, you know, in a different restaurant that's better or whatever.
You're then going to that.
Because you're then going to that.
Do you know what actually McDonald's contains? I did some research on this the other day. So chicken McNuggets, this is quite horrible, 40% chicken.
Sorry, I'm worried that what the other 60% is. No, I'm worried about what the other 60% is.
Yeah, it's bone.
Cartilage of some sort.
Veins. And it was the claws of the chicken. So it's horrible, right? But it was 40% meat. They dissected it.
Yeah.
And the other 60% was all the really horrible bits like bones, cartilage. So, you know, you hear that about sausages, and I would have sausages as a kid, like my mum would make them for me.
Yeah.
And my mum would let me have McDonald's when I was a kid. So then you're like, oh, wow, this is actually really pretty terrible.
How does that pass, like the food agency?
It's like, you know what they say, empty calories in alcohol, because you can't, it doesn't do anything to your body. And the burgers are, let me get this right, they're trans fat. Trans fat's the only fat that your body can't use. So it can use polysaccharide, it can use all the different monounsaturated fats, but trans fat
just sits in your body.
Yeah. So it's the worst type of fat you can consume, and that's in McDonald's.
On that with the heads that get to the agency, and again, I shouldn't really quote this because I don't know if it's 100% true, but I'm pretty sure in the UK, KFC had to change their name.
They could chicken. So we removed the word chicken.
They had to change their name. They can't be called Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore in the UK. They've got to be called KFC.
Yeah.
Because when you Google a KFC chicken now, it's literally what James just described. It's so far away from being an animal that they can't even call it Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore. So it's like this steroided little thing that's got like no head. I think they have no head and no legs or something weird. Like it's proper sick.
That is so awful.
Well, it's like feeling it, like getting upset, like almost crying, and you two dickheads laughing. And all you're thinking about is like, oh yeah, I'll order KFC after this. Like,
no, but do you know right? So the most interesting things that I found about chicken nuggets is that it's all, people only actually just like the seasoning and the breading, because you could go and have a vegan chicken nugget and it's exactly the same. 100%.
Yeah. Why don't you set up vegan McDonald's with the same sauce?
They have a vegan menu.
They beat me to it, unfortunately.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Plant-based menu, I think.
Full of all good ideas today.
Oh my God, you've debunked him on the food idea. You'll do a science video after this. Fucking hell, God help us.
Well, no, you are in the not food industry. You're in the beverage industry, and that's
well, I understand alcohol. Yeah.
What beverage industry are you in?
Mezcal. Have you ever tried mezcal?
Oh, what's mezcal?
So it's like tequila. It's tequila's cousin. So when I've been living in Mexico the last 3 years, and just basically my friends. It was 15 of us, 9 girls, 6 guys, and I noticed my girlfriends would have their normal drink, but they'd have a shot of mezcal. And if you ask anyone in Mexico what their favorite drink is, they will say mezcal. It used to be tequila, but now it's moved to mezcal.
It's really hip at the moment, mezcal.
Okay.
Do you want to try it?
Do you have any mezcal? Yeah. Can I try some mezcal?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So
take the word, mate.
I made a documentary.
Take the chicken leg out.
Put the octopus in there. I'll have it outside the octopus.
Go get some. We'll try it.
We tried. I'll get it. One sec. We tried 1,000. All 15 of us went round. We took some film crew with us, and we tried 1,000 different mezcals. We went to all the biggest palenques in Oaxaca. Oaxaca is one of the states in Mexico where they make the best mezcal, and we tried it, and then we did all this blind tasting, and we picked the loveliest family who have been doing it for 5 generations, and we picked the one that everybody else picked, and it was the favorite mezcal. So basically there's nothing in it apart from plant. It's an agave plant. There's no it's organic, gluten-free, there's no sugar, there's nothing added we see it. We live with the family. So the agave grows for 9.5 years. We watch them farm it, try and help, not very good with all the tools, and then it takes about 2 weeks because it's new. It's called Hoban. It's not like the Añejo or the Reposado. It's a brand new one. And we watch them, and there's nothing in it. It's all made by hand, and it's like the healthiest alcohol there is.
Go get me some.
All right, I'm going to get you 2 different types. So we've got one which is which is clear,
Yeah.
which is strong, it's 43%. And we've got one which is with a little bit of espresso, which is 38.5%.
Do that one, yeah.
Do you want to try the espresso one or the other one or the clear one?
Both of them.
Okay.
I love the espresso one.
I love the espresso as well.
Oh, I'm excited for the mezcal.
It is delicious.
Is it?
Okay, so this is just, remember, no sugar.
No sugar.
No sulfites, no sulfates, nothing added. This has taken a long time, 3 years to make. It's just, let's turn it around another way, because it's a different one. So it's just mezcal, it's 38.5%.
Yeah.
And it's 3% of espresso bean in there. So there's nothing else in there apart from that.
Did you throw away the can of Coke, yeah? Did you empty the can of Coke and throw away?
Right.
Cheers.
Welcome.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Olivia.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
And we shot it, yeah?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's lovely.
Punchy, right? But not too strong.
Good.
No, that's really nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like a gentle tequila.
Yeah, but it's 38.5%, so you can
What's tequila?
So do you want to? I'll try not to bore anyone. So agave, because I tend to go on these like rants if it's a scientific thing.
I love it. I think it's interesting.
Okay, so agave
Yeah.
is made in industrial. So tequila is made in industrial process. It's typically made in like metal ovens and stuff. Not always.
So what percentage is tequila?
It can be any percent. You can make
Okay.
it whatever you want. From let's say from 35 to 45% ABV. So with tequila, it can only come from one type of agave.
Yeah.
So agave, it's actually a succulent. People think it's a cactus, but it's a succulent. It looks like aloe vera. And tequila basically can only come from one type of agave, which is called azul, which is blue in Spanish. Mezcal can come from 50 or 100 all the other types of agaves.
I was going to ask before we wrap up, what, unless anyone else has got anything else, what's your dream role? What's your you've mentioned, we've talked about like reincarnation and what the love of period dramas.
Yeah.
Prize fight, dream come true of being in a period drama.
Yeah.
No,
so yeah, it was dream come true. Obviously it's dream come true. I love Celtic history, and it would be to play Boudica, who is a Celtic queen who led an
You're
army
Scottish, in you?
No, but she was, I think she was
vegan?
Probably vegan.
No, obviously not.
So you're allowed to eat fish, though?
I definitely eat fish. But she basically led an army of women against the Romans, and she was like an amazing warrior queen, and she was just like really connected to like the earth, and she was just so cool.
True life character?
True life character. Yeah, look her up.
When? What's the year?
Oh, I don't know, like Roman.
That's like your
BC
real life
something.
superhero.
Why didn't you write that? That's what you should write.
Because I'm not a good writer. This is the problem.
I feel like you're gonna. I don't know. I don't want to say this on camera, but I feel like you're gonna achieve something crazy. I don't know. I just feel like you will.
Can you guys write a film about Boudica?
Well, Matt
And can I
writes.
star in it?
Honestly, you should. Don't think you can't write, because I never could write as well. And you just, if you get hooked on something.
What does Olivia need to write? Obviously, like, did you go to university and stuff?
No, I just went drama school.
The 1 year at drama school.
Yeah.
Or did you do English at A levels or anything like
Yeah, I
that?
did English.
So that's a good
Yeah, but you don't need that. I mean, I
Yeah.
was bloody dyslexic in school, but basically still am. So, you don't need that. You just need to trick the aspect of people thinking you can't write, because you think it's just about writing, and you think, I have to be some kind of poet to write.
Yeah.
Well, no, you have to understand the software you need to use to write. You need to understand how films are structured.
Yeah.
They're not structured like books.
Yeah.
Which you already know, because
Yeah,
you've read so many scripts, and you need to have a good idea, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And you need to go with it, and then you need to just keep working on it until it's really good. And if you're not a good writer, it'll just take you longer.
Everyone I've heard that's written a book, they've all said, like, they're super talented people. They're not writers, right? And they're just super talented. And they all say, I got X, Y, and Z to do the writing, and I told them the storyline and everything else.
Yeah, you can get ghostwriters, and you can get people like that.
Ghostwriters,
Yeah, you can get people like that. That's not a problem with people to forward it, and you can do that.
Yeah.
It just depends how much you want to do it. But sometimes it's, you can learn and develop. It's like developing a new skill. You can learn.
Did you do like courses and stuff, or did you just went for it?
No, I wrote a couple of shorts beforehand.
Yep.
Really got to know the software. I read so many good scripts.
Yeah.
You can pick up Goodfellas, or you can pick up a really great script online, Rocky, and you can go, wow, okay, that's a good script. Look at the structure. Look at when the characters come in. Look at the first 10 pages, how it's gripping you. Look at, most of them follow a similar structure. Some of them might be 90 pages or 150 pages, but they'll follow a structure you can work to. Yeah. And you kind of go from there. But that's amazing. I mean, that kind of role would be really fit for you.
Yeah,
it sounds a bit badass as well, like kind of
it really
powerful
is.
and like really.
Yeah, and I love back in the day when there were pagans and people were much more connected to the earth and to the gods of the earth, and that interests me a lot, and I really resonate with that. So she's definitely a character that I just really like. I love playing strong women who back in history, because you know what I said earlier about, because they have so much more of a fight to be heard and to be seen, and I find that exciting and I find that interesting.
So that was a really interesting conversation. Where can we follow you? Where can people follow you, Olivia?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Olivia CHENERY, CHENERY, and Twitter when I reactivate it on the same name.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for having you on.
It's been great having you.
Wow. What's that saying? Ah!
No, that's more like it.
Was that spelling last time?
Yeah. Yes. Good work, Olivia.